what they do and how that's gonna benefit, independent artists and the industry in general. We wanna talk about how to work with curators, because, that is how we are going to get music to the masses. That's a very important part of this, because the product that we're all working on is the music itself. How technology is changing the landscape, and then how we're gonna build a village, how we're gonna build community, and how we're going to take all of this, everything that we're all doing to the next level. So, thank you guys for coming today.
Please make some noise for her. She made this all happen. So now we are going to move on to the State of the Box, and I want to introduce Lizzie Brody, who will be moderating this. And then we also want to bring over Nikki Swarn from Kuvo Jazz and The Drop, and we also invite DJ Alicia from Indie 102.3 to come sit down with us.
Good morning, you guys. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. If you don't know me, I'm Lizzie Brody. I have a music blog. I've been doing all types of things for lots of years. You can check me out at lizziebrody.com. I love these people. I've known Brian and Antonio for years and years, and they're incredible. Nikki, you're amazing. Everyone loves you. I love you more. Right? And I haven't met you before, Alicia, but it's nice to meet you. Alicia, just kidding.
Sorry.
I'm sure you've been also had your name mispronounced a lot of ways as well.
So we're just gonna get right into some questions. If we want to just maybe go down the line, I know Brian and Antonio kind of got into it, but Alicia, if you would like to tell us more about your professional background.
Yeah. Well, hi everybody. My name's Alicia Sweeney. I work for Colorado Public Radio. They have an indie rock music station as a part of Colorado Public Radio called Indie 102.3. And I was brought there 11 years ago to help launch the station. And over the years, I have developed my niche at the radio station to be the local music director. So what that means at Indie 102.3 as the local music director, I listen to all the Colorado music that you guys submit to our station and decide what makes it to the airwaves. And how I can best serve our community in this moment is that I curate what we call the Local 303. And it's an hourly spotlight on Colorado music. Every month we choose 12 different local artists to feature. We play their music twice a day, all month long, give them some great exposure. We also have a companion article on our website, and then a celebratory monthly event at the end of the month as well called the Local 303 Meetup. So we are really invested with our mission at Indie 102.3 to support the Colorado music scene. And so that is something that I continue to do. You can also hear me on Indie 102.3 middays. I'm 10 to 3. I also host a couple shows, including one called Live Cuts, where I share some incredible live music recordings from anywhere in the world, including our studio. And then I also host the local show, More from the Local 303, which is every Friday night from 10 to 11, and our show bootleg sessions on Sundays. But you can see the schedule, indie1023.org.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Now, moving on to Miss Nikki, can you give us more about your professional background?
I take out the trash. And I
Don't
am
be shy, girl. Come on,
the
don't be
official
shy.
fangirl of Mark Montour Larson, who is part of our tech team that helped put this together. Mark, you know I adore you, so I'm always saying thank you to you 5,000 times. My name is Nikki Swarn. I'm the general manager for 104.7 The Drop and 89.3 Kuvo Jazz. I'm the first African American woman general manager in the history of this state. And it's been kind of an interesting journey across the way. I've done anything and everything to be in the entertainment industry, and we live in a place that is landlocked and has challenges, but it's not impossible. It's all about how you decide to want to play the Rubik's Cube, because that's basically what it is. I started out, I threw my very first concert with my student loan money. It was really stupid, but I did really awesome. Because it was Diggable Planets, and they were the hottest thing on the planet at that time. And so I made all my money back and paid for my semester, didn't tell my parents, and I bought a car. Of course I did. Listen, we're supposed to be living in that boy culture. But I didn't know what that meant. And one of the things that I would encourage every individual in this room, even if you are in a successful position, is to have a mentor. I just got a new mentor, and I'm a general manager, and what you need a mentor for? Are you doing all the things? Doesn't matter, because there's always somewhere else you want to be, and what better way to model your career than to model your career after somebody that you aspire to be like, or have a position like. So, mentorship has been a really big deal for me, and it was a catalyst for my ability to move through the industry. I've been in radio for 27 years, doing everything, anything, I don't care what you ask. If you ask me to clean up after an event, I would do it. I do it now, like even as a GM, where you're like, I need to move past that part. No, never. The humility that it takes to actually sit in the industry allows you to hear conversations in places where you may not hear them otherwise. My trajectory to get here was not one that I planned. I wasn't like, okay, these are the steps that I'm gonna take to get to where I'm going to be. It wasn't like that. It just happened to be that I was in the right place at the right time, and I was connected. Your connections, I'm really old, so I say Rolodex, so that doesn't really, know now. So your not your friends on Facebook, and not the people that are following you on Instagram, the people that are on your cell phone are really, really important to you. And you don't call them when you need something, you call them when you don't. You call them when you just want to check in and say hello. Cultivating those relationships is what kind of got me into the place that I am now, because I had a long-term relationship with somebody named Mike Henry. Some of you know who he is. He's a big radio consultant and specifically consults public media. I made a transition from commercial media, where I worked for KS 107.5, ESPN, KYGO. If it had music, I was doing it. If it had sports, I was doing it. Didn't matter where it was. I needed to be multifaceted, and so I opened myself up to work in all genres. It didn't matter at all. I just wanted the exposure and the connectivity. And in that process, I developed my mentorships with people like Becky Taylor, who is just an amazing person who works with Warren Hill right now, doing, amazing concerts internationally. So that's how I got started in the international side of things. I have been an on-air personality as America Jones on 104.7. Just a lot of different things. Like there's a lot of different inputs, and I'm not gonna, you can go Google my bio, but there's certain things that I want to make sure that you all walk away with, and lessons that I learned in terms of connective tissue. So, Lizzie, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, girl, you're amazing, and I just one time for you, for real, because each one teach one, you're inspiring to me. Like when I get to your level, I want to be able to turn around and teach everybody what I've learned and inspire them as well, so thank you. Antonio, Brian, do you guys want to add anything to? Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and ask this. What trends have you been seeing in recorded and live music? Because it's ever changing, trends are coming and going. What are you seeing recently?
So, trends wise, obviously everyone has a home studio now. You can, we were just talking about it yesterday. Spotify is overloaded because there's so many artists that load. There's 100,000 artists that load music every day. So I think that trends are always going to be what people chase, but making timeless music and what's important to you is what's really gonna stand out, being yourself. And so I have noticed right now in the last couple of years that the labels don't even know what to do. As we work with people like Def Jam, 1501, work with Rock Nation, Daytown Global this year, and several other major labels, they don't even know how their marketing approach is. So there is no one blueprint. It is all right now about personalizing what your campaign can do, and specifically in Colorado, it's about finding resources in the region and utilizing those and planning those with your team to make whatever music you will have find the fanship. And then, before we go to the next question, I just want to say this. I believe that we're at a crossroads as a region. The guys who were artists in the last decade the reason that we haven't moved forward, like, to the next space is 90% of those artists left the music industry. And when they didn't make it as recording artists, they didn't start booking agencies, sync agencies, management agencies, all the infrastructure that artists need to develop right from here. They have to go to New York or LA or Atlanta to get those things. And so artists, I want to encourage you, if you decide that, you know, I like being an artist, but I could make more money being a sync agent. I could make more money being a booking agent. Remember, the industry is gonna need those things for us to get to the next level. Where like Hypnotic started the concert app, who he'll be here later. Young Doe, Living Decent, and all the things they did. But there's not a lot of artists that, from that era, that stayed doing music, unless they did a studio, right? Shout out to all the studios in the house. But with studios, that's not the only thing we need. We need booking agents, we need management, we need those things. So the trend is to be independent. So to be independent, you need those departments.
Oh, I was gonna say,
One of the big trends, just to bounce off what he said, is in Colorado that I've noticed, it's our collective use and move towards using really cool technology to do what we've already done. Like concert app, like Fader app, like there's a really huge surge right now of all of the independent artists making a move to move things along themselves and, you know, using technology to their advantage to not only make a name for themselves, but really just create a community here in Colorado, because that's what I'm all about, around the music and around the love of music, even if it's not musicians themselves. So, yeah, that's what I've noticed lately.
I was gonna say, one of the biggest trends that I think that artists and managers and PR folks are sleeping on is the movement of public media. And maybe I'm biased because I work in public media, but I came from commercial media first, right? So I did the vast majority of my career in commercial, and then I just came over into public media. I just celebrated my 4-year anniversary in public media. And the reason why I say that, and Alicia, I think you're gonna echo this very similarly, is that this is an open runway and landscape for independent artists to get their music on the air. And that is, if you're trying to push it towards KS or any of the commercial radio stations, there's a formula over there. And the narrowness of what they can do on a playlist, and you keep working it and hounding it, they're really not paying attention. And that's just being an honest truth. I sat there, I did it, I developed Colorado Local Love in 2005 for KS 107.5 because the independent artists didn't have a runway to do it. So for me, I'm saying, here's an open landscape for you to be able to get your music consistently on rotation, on the air, but you have to do the work. And if you choose not to do the work, then don't expect us to be there to be like, please send us your stuff. If it wasn't for folks like Antonio and some of the other DJs, Mike Coates, where are you at? There you are, my guy, Mike Coates. A lot of your inventory, a lot of your music wouldn't come to us because you're not sending it. You're not tagging us, you're not sending it to us, and you're not following the protocols that go with submission of music. We're really specific about what it is, and this is your training ground. That's the coolest thing about this. Working with a radio station is actually your training ground to get your music on the air. So if we ask you for an MP3, your bio, your picture, and your contact information, and you send us a link tree, you're already out of there because you can't follow directions. We have an MC battle going right now for women musicians, MCs, singers, and all of those things. We've gotten everything but what we asked for from submissions.
And it gets really frustrating. And also one thing to know is if you're a musician and you have profanity in your songs, we can't play that on the radio. So submit a radio edit and then listen to it like 45 more times before you submit it to us. So
Another pair of ears.
and get another pair of ears on it because we want to play your music. As public media, we want to share your music. We thrive on sharing Colorado stories. We root for our Colorado musicians. So how Nikki was saying, you know, we give you, here's what we need you to submit, similar with Indie 102.3. When you're on our website and you click the send us, submit your music link, follow the things. You know, attach the WAV file. give us the bio, show us where we can find you online. We wouldn't ask those if we weren't curious about you. We want to be able to tell your story on the radio. Just don't submit a whole bunch of tracks and then expect airplay. Like, think about what would sound good on the radio. Like, I know I'm a great musician. What do you think would keep someone's attention for a couple minutes?
Can I just add really quick? As a blogger, my music blog is maybe 8 or almost 9 years old now. Same thing. Like, if you just email me a link, does it tell me where you're from, what you're about, what your message is, what's the song, who produced it? Like, I don't. Well, yeah, you know, so very, very, very important that you're actually giving people, radios, bloggers, substance. You know, like, share who you are, share what your story is, because we want to feel proud about what we're putting out. Sure.
And there's a ton of movement right now in public media around new radio stations. There are seven, going to be 10 stations shaped like the Drop all throughout the country, and we're in some really phenomenal areas like Houston and Norfolk, Virginia, and Minneapolis, which is a great market, right? And Milwaukee. So if you get yourself in a network, we're talking to each other all the time. Even though people perceive radio folks as being competitive against each other, we're actually in cahoots with each other all the time, especially in public media. Willoughby's in here, and I talk to Willoughby, we're friends. Like, and so utilize the power that you have as a creator to get into a relationship with public media. I'm telling you, having come from commercial, the more y'all bang the boards at commercial, the more crickets you're gonna hear. We actually are informing, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna claim it, and I think Alicia, you would too, that public media is informing commercial media right now. We just are. They are, and it's just an open landscape right now, because we can organically have the relationship with you. We can put you on our stages, and that's exactly what we do. We put you on our stages, we pay you as artists, which is all about fulfilling the prophecy of serving our community, right? That's our centerpiece, and you as music creators are our community. But we can't do all the work, like, come on, man. Like, if we paying you and we trying to get you on the air and give you rotation, help me to help you, right? That's what it is.
So I'm gonna move on to the next question. I'm actually gonna make this a 2-part question. So in Colorado, what strides have you seen the music scene make positively in 2022? But also, what setbacks do you see as well?
Yeah, as far as strides go, I think we've all just made it out of the pandemic, right? And so we're just sort of like forging this new territory of what does the music world look like now? Okay, I'm kind of taking my mask off at shows. I'm sort of like excited about these collaborations that I'm seeing and everything. But I think the strides that we're making right now, coming out of the pandemic, is if you are an artist and you are looking for support, there is money out there for you. If you are ambitious or brave enough, I know it takes a lot to put yourself out there, to ask for money. Colorado Creative Industries, look them up. They have a budget and money. They want to support Colorado musicians. They are just sitting on this money. So look at their website. They've got the due dates on when you need to submit stuff. And if you really want it, and if you believe in yourself, you know, apply for those things, ask for music. I don't know, I think there's a lot of strides in that. It's exciting. There's been a lot of beautiful music born out of the pandemic, and I'm relating to a lot of these songs of like, I've been lonely, but now I'm coming out of it, or I had this big breakup, or whatever. Just for me as a music fan, I'm just loving the beautiful music that you all have been creating just out of the pandemic too.
To piggyback off of what Alicia said as well with CCI, which is an amazing organization, the Colorado Music Advancement Fund is another opportunity that the city and county of Denver does, where you can create, maybe you want to create a micro festival, or maybe you want to make it unique, because we see a lot of submissions about recording projects. Those aren't going to be the ones that the panel are going to cut through, because I actually sit on the panel and review this stuff. Look at being creative and collaborative. How can you co-create with something? Maybe you're doing an art installation and creating music that's going with the art installation that's given to the public for free. Think about how you can reinvent yourself as an artist. One of the things that I adore about what's happening is the level of of artistry and production work that's actually happening with artists within our community. When I because I host Colorado Local Love on Saturday and Sunday, and it's an extension of the project I started way back in 2005. What I'm hearing in my headphones is incredible. We're seeing artists that are getting signed to P&D deals if they want them. And that's the coolest part is you now have the control. Being an independent artist is now the major control cycle. It's not the labels and you running over there to go work with them. You can go do all the stuff you want by yourself. And when the label comes to you, you can be like, nah, maybe not, right? It's such power in your hands, which is completely a different relationship that we've seen in the past. Like I came from an old school way of, okay, we wanna go get a label deal because the label's gonna give us $1 million, we're gonna go do this and this, and we're gonna go on tour and all that stuff. And now you look at it and you say, okay, a label is a bank. They're giving me a loan and I am automatically on the hook for something that could be as much as 50% interest. Where are you gonna do that? Like who wants to pay 50% interest on the money? That means you're already behind and in arrears with that relationship. When you can stay independent, maybe do something a little bit smaller and then come back to the labels and buy your deal. Or not buy your deal and push yourself out over social. You have so much control, and that is the single paradigm shift, is the fact that artists and creators have control of their space, and you're seeing this happen with Web3, you're seeing it with NFTs. You're able to create a 360 of your own. Not be beholden to somebody else's saying, this is your 360 deal, I'm taking money from you in every turn, and you're never ever to dig out of it. This is the biggest house that is invisible, right? The music industry. It's a big house that you're paying for, but you can't see it necessarily, and you don't see the success always come out of it that way.
Right. No, I agree 100%, and I think the strides are that artists are making much better music. The music quality that's coming out, the mastering, the mixing, shout out to Bugs, shout out to GBL Studio, shout out to Side 3. Bugs is in here. The mastering and mixing of some of these records sounds just like whatever I'm hearing on the radio. And I think that some of the strides are people like Mickey creating The Drop, people like me and John Blaze creating the Southwest Alliance, which we have 10 strategic partners, y'all. We have DigiWax, Def Jam Recordings, Spin Stats, Music Breaker, Zaytown Global, Nerve DJs, Core DJs, Shade 4-5. These are strategic partners that the Southwest Alliance can get your music to. DigiWax is the first digital DJ platform. They just named me regional content creator, and then I named John Blaze the Arizona content creator. 50,000 DJs get their music from DigiWax. We're putting artists right next to Janet Jackson, Kendrick Lamar. Anybody that comes out, you will have an indie artist right next to them. So those are some of the strides. I think one of the parts that has taken a step back is that artists are not developing their internal systems. They still think they need a manager. You don't need a manager. You have 8 departments. So shout out to Toussaint Lorenz. I know I've seen him here. Toussaint is one of the guys that if there's some knowledge out there, he takes it in, puts it in his system, and next week I see it in his newsletter to his artists. He's engaging his fan base with the systems he can. Now, does he have $1 million? Does he have a whole staff? No, but it's him. But he's like, I'm gonna be the PR person. My other person on my team is they're gonna do the social media. He's subbing out the people for the departments he can't pay for yet, but once because listen, if you put an album out today as an NFT, and you have 400 fans, right? You go do the data collection, and you get 400 fans to buy your NFT, which includes a t-shirt and your album, right? 400 fans at $50. How much is that? That's $20,000. You don't need 1 million fans on Spotify. You need 400 paying fans, but we'll pay $50 for your product, so that you can take that $20,000 and now invest it where it could be. So to answer the question shortly, the things that Colorado's doing is we're making better music, we have access to more stuff. The strides that we're going backwards is people are not creating the departments they need to create revenue and make music not a hobby, but a profitable business.
And I think that's the centerpiece of it all, though. It is a business that you happen to be creative in. It still has structure. You still have to figure out how you're making money, how you're paying folks. But being creative, there's so many new lanes and utilizing data. Like, people are really afraid to go dig into their data and figure out, do I have fans? Or do I just have people that follow me because I'm kind of cool, right? Big shout out to Toussaint Marines too. Your consistency is why I'm shouting you out right now. You are one of the most consistent artists, and I'm always excited for your music to come to our inbox. And I don't even sit on the committee to review anymore, they kicked me off. I got kicked off the committee, but what I do know is that you're consistent in submission, and because you're consistent like that, it makes us sit up a little straighter and take you more seriously as an artist, because you're not a flash in the pan. You take advantage of the connection, you ask questions about us, do you think this, I'm not asking for you to put this on the air, but will you review this for me if you have time? That respect that you give to those people that are having the opportunity to put your music on the air makes you one in a million, right? And we really appreciate you, so thank you.
That's how it's done, for real, so shout out to you. So tell me, what is the American Fairness Act of Music, and how does it affect independent artists?
Okay,
So, are you a pro on this?
I'm not a pro, I just wanna talk about it.
Okay.
I don't think everyone is aware of what's going on in Congress.
yeah. Can I read a little infographic and then you can riff? The United States is the only democratic country in the world that does not pay artists when their music is played on AM or FM radio. So we're trying to tell Congress to pass the American Music Fairness Act. And this is a conversation that's been going on for a long time, but finally getting some traction in December.
And I kinda wanted to talk about, how does that affect the radio station itself? Because in you guys' case, we're public media, so this particular act would be exempt, right? But commercial radio, no, maybe I don't understand it, okay.
Okay. I actually sit on the Grammys board as well, so I'm always in conflict with what radio wants and what I think is right. What I think is right is that everybody who is doing something and they're being proactive in the community and they're making music and this is how they feed their families should receive pay, period. It was one of the tenets that we put into place here at 104.7. We make sure that every artist that gets paid, period, no question. We don't have enough money to pay a national headliner because we gotta pay the independents, that's what's gonna happen. End of story, we can't sit up here and be two-faced about it, right? We can't say, oh, we're all for the people and it's all about community, and we love it, it's great, and create your art, but we aren't gonna pay you. Now, can you just do it for exposure? Last time I checked, exposure does not pay the Visa bill, the light bill, or your house, right?
Yeah.
So with this act, it's actually a level set. And so my opinion, even though I represent a radio station, is that artists should be paid, because what we're paying right now are the songwriters, we're paying the producers, we're paying some of those people, other people like me who own publishing, so we're paying the publishers. But it doesn't trickle down to the artist, and it really needs to be the opposite kind of drip campaign. It needs to start with the artist. We should be paying the artist first and then going down from there. Now, this act has presented itself multiple times on the Senate floor and on the House floor. It's been reviewed and reviewed. The Grammys representation has gone forward, and we've sat and we've talked to our senators. We have Grammy Day, and we pretty much go and we talk to our senators directly, one-to-one, and say, this is what is impacting our creative community. Because it's actually siphoning off dollars for creativity. And you can't feed your family in this industry, then you are going to do exactly what Antonio said, is get out. Because you've poured yourself into it, and your ROI hasn't come back to you. This is a way that we can, as a people, put that on. But this is where all of you come into play. Each and every one of you, as you go to the polls and you vote, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I am telling you to go look at what their stances are in music, in creative industries, in art. All of that is up to us as the people of this republic, right? As Americans, we have the opportunity to change things that happen for us at the polls. But if we don't get involved and we're not engaged in that space, these acts don't mean anything. And then hold those people that we elect accountable. Hold them accountable. Yes, I know it seems like a whole bunch of extra work, but I got the kids and industry. It's not just, I'm making all this music and it's wonderful. I say this to national recording artists all the time. You know, you all are saying the same thing, and again, it's a part of a pie. You have, major artists are gonna take 70% of that pie. The remaining cut is left for independent artists. And it's a hard competition because we pay a percentage of our gross revenues to these ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, all that, but it's only like 3%. So 3%, and narrow that down to 0.001%, that's why you get a check for $1.50 in a year, right? It's because of how the proportions work.
Very good. So the last question is, what are you guys most excited to see in 2023 in Colorado's music?
Oh, what am I excited to see in 2023 for Colorado music? Well, I'm excited to go out and just see more live music, and what I'm loving right now is these more smaller pop-up shows. So a lot of independent artists being like, well, I can't book the Gothic, or I can't book somewhere, so I'm gonna team up with So Far Sounds, and I'm gonna put on this show, or like how you were talking about, like an art exhibit. So I love going out and seeing these like thoughtful shows, so I'm excited about that. I'm just excited for more music discovery. I am always on the lookout for Colorado musicians, so I'm excited to have some of you guys submit your music to Indie 1023's website, and I think I'm just really looking forward to just feeling a little bit of a new normal this year, because again, coming out of the pandemic and connecting with people on the radio, it felt lonely for a while. Music celebration.
Right, there is 2 minutes left on this panel. Brian, 30-second answer.
I want to say, I'm excited.
Use your mic.
I'm excited for people to start really telling their story. We don't, it's hard for independent artists at least to, curate content. It's a full-time job to do that. But I'm excited to see more of the artists that I love, like a lot of you that are here today, using all the platforms you have to tell a story. Tell us who you are, tell us where you come from, tell us why we should love you. Tell us why we should listen to your music without saying, go listen to my music.
Thank you. Nikki, 30-second answer.
I'm excited to see more women empowered in music, being leaders. Brian, thank you for showing up and doing what you do. You do it tirelessly, sometimes without a thank you, and you represent a lot of artists. And being a former woman manager, it is hard, and it takes a village and all of us coming together. You see really strong women on this panel right now, and I can't wait to see more opportunities to own this space the way we should.
Thank you so much. Please give it up for our panels and our moderator, Lizzie Brody, Nikki Swan, Alicia from 102.3, and Brian Elaine. Thank you. We are going to move on, so thank you, ladies. You are welcome to move on, except for Brian. Stay there. Give me just a second. I am going to switch these covers to these mics. Once again, make some noise for everybody. Brian will be curating this next panel. It's a Q&A with the industry experts, so we do invite Bonnie Dolan from Common Music, Will Carlin from Indie 102.3, and Dave Ratner, if he's in the building, from Creative Law Network, to come on down and take a seat. Do we have Bonnie? I thought I saw her.
Bonnie was going to the break, so I say, Bonnie, go ahead.
Okay, Bonnie, Will, come on over. And do we have Dave Ratner in the building? Okay, wait, let's give a second. Do we, Jael, do we have Dave Ratner in yet? Come on in, Bonnie. Perfect timing. Yep, come on in and take a seat here. So this will be your opportunity to ask some questions that you may have from our panelists. We're missing the lawyer. Okay, let's take a couple minutes break while I switch these mic covers, and we'll wait for him to get in.
And could you give out the hashtag again? The hashtag.
Hashtag the auditorium.
hashtag
I'm
the
excited to
auditorium.
have these guys here with us today, because I think they have some really great hands-on insight to a lot of the things that we all deal with on a day-to-day basis in the music industry. Hi, Dave. So, what we want to talk about here, we just want to have, like, does anybody have any questions? Oh, definitely. We want to have some questions and answers here from some industry experts. We have Willoughby Carlin from 102.3, Dave Ratner, like Antonio from Creative Law Network, and Bonnie Doe, who works with Comma Music in licensing and sync. Nice. So, there we go. Okay. So, go ahead. Let's start with Bonnie. Can you tell us a little bit about your company, what you do, your role, what you like to do? Yes. Yeah. What is it that you like to tell people that you do? Because I know you do a lot.
I tell, is this work? I'm back. I work at Comma Music, which is, I'm from Chicago. I'm the director of music licensing there. We do a lot of ads and I do a lot of music placements for brands and try film, but there's so much content out there. Difficult. I moved to Denver 4 years ago and I started a chapter of Women in Music, which is now being very successful. It is a good one, and it's not just women, but it's mostly women. But everybody can join. And Colorado is part of the San Francisco Grammy chapter. So there's 12 chapters, and Colorado is supposedly too small to have its own chapter, so we're part of San Francisco. And I'm an officer on that board, so I kind of represent all of us in the Recording Academy. And now it's getting boring, so that's about it.
Yes, go ahead and what do you do, Dave? What do you do on a day-to-day basis as an entertainment lawyer here in Denver, Colorado?
Represent 547, indirectly.
I do lots of things. So yeah, I run a law firm called Creative Law Network. I am a recovering manager. I was a tour manager before that, so I do know what it's like to be away from my desk. But we represent people throughout the industry. And so that's artists and it's promoters and it's labels and publishers and whoever needs that help, because really there's kind of legal is woven through everything we do in the industry and in business in general. So having proper contracts in place, having intellectual property protection for your copyrights and trademarks, all sorts of negotiations, licensing, for certain, and really just helping our clients succeed.
And tell us a little bit about yourself as well, Willoughby, because you have a wider background than just.
I do. I too am a recovering manager. I've been in the music industry since high school. Started as a concert promoter in my high school. Went to college for radio, and that took me off into a career in mostly commercial radio, but always in music discovery. I work for alternative radio stations in the commercial side. Like Nikki, we share a lot. We share a path. Our journeys are very similar. And I wish I had found public radio many years ago, because this is where artists are going to be discovered in the future. Commercial radio doesn't care about you. Sorry to say that. Does anybody here in commercial radio? That is the truth, and you know it. Public radio is where music discovery is now and will be in the future. A little bit about my history of getting here. I kind of sidestepped radio for about 10 years. I went into artist management, worked with several very successful artists. The first artist I got signed to a major label, they're called Ugly Kid Joe. They went on to sell about 50 million records. No, I don't get a piece of that. Otherwise, I'd probably be living in Hawaii. See, I didn't have Dave. I also helped develop a band named Korn, who also very huge now. Don't get a piece of that either. I was a partner in a management company and I decided to leave, but that's on me. I also, some of you here might know one of the artists that I work with. If you know the movie Boys in the Hood, I managed a band called CMW, or Compton's Most Wanted. They tried to have a resurgence in their career, and I worked with them for about 2 years. And I got out of management because, like Dave said, I didn't like waking up on a tour bus every day and no way to start a family and stuff. But I do want to say one thing about everybody that's here today. You're the smart ones. This auditorium should be packed right now, okay? What I've always told the artists that I've worked with is it's called the music business for a reason. Now, you're artists, got it. But if you want a career, then you have to understand the business. So give yourselves a round of applause for understanding why you're here today to advance your career in the business of music. So I'm very happy. Thank you for inviting me here, and hopefully I can answer some questions. And Dave's going to be my new attorney.
So this is kind of a question for Dave. What trends, or Dave and Bonnie, I'd say, what trends are you seeing in publishing deals and licensing? What are publishers looking for business-wise, contract-wise? What should artists be thinking about to prepare for a publishing deal, or to prepare for just even a licensing deal, just in film or TV or video games? What's going on in that space right now?
It's constantly changing, I think, because there is a lot more opportunity to do it on your own. Like, you don't need to sign a publishing deal, right? Because you can do an admin deal. So one of the trends is admin deals are very easy to get, right? You can basically just go sign up the Song Trust, right? And they'll just admin your publisher. So publishing companies, I think, I do see some publishing companies going in that direction of offering admin that isn't solicited so anyone can sign up, or just doing admin deals, which are much lower investment, because basically, sorry, I should go back on this. Admin deal meaning that generally a publishing company is going to be not only responsible for collecting publishing revenue, but also shopping the music, trying to get the music played, recorded, synced, etc. Publishing companies, I think their most important function is also to collect the money, because as an individual, it's really hard to do that. You really can't collect all your publishing as an individual. What you can do if you don't get a full an admin deal is basically they're going to administer your music, which means they will collect the money. And they will take a percentage, but it's a much smaller percentage than a full publishing deal. So I do see a lot of that going on. And I think the other thing that's always just important to clarify, folks, is a lot of people think, well, if I just go sign up with ASCAP or BMI, then I'm getting all my publishing. And that is not the case, because I see a lot of people shaking their heads, so that's fantastic, right? Because you need that publishing company to collect all those other revenue streams in addition to the public performance fund that's ASCAP and BMI.
Just being on the receiving end of not receiving enough publishing money, yes. The best advice I ever give artists that I work with, or young, I call them baby bands, or young artists, is be very careful. Don't give away what you don't know you're giving away. Yeah, don't sign away. Publishing is like real estate. It's like, once you write a song, if you're the sole writer of that song, the publishing is yours. If you publishing company, now you're partners. Who makes more of that money? So be very careful. Talk to Dave before you sign a publishing deal.
everything they said. Because when you have a public, if you keep your own publishing, I'm not supposed to talk about licensing now.
Oh,
I was licensed a huge song for a commercial. And the publisher gets $750,000. And the artist gets all of that money, the publisher gets a percentage. Now, if you use a master recording, they have to get the same amount of money. So it's called I don't know why I'm telling you this, but you should know this. It's most favored nations. If you license one of your songs and you wrote it and you own the publishing, you're gonna get 100% of that money unless you have a deal like they said. If we use the voice and the master recording, you get both sides of,
If you still own your master. If you still own your master.
yeah, don't sell anything.
Don't do a publishing deal, don't do a record deal, do it all your own.
You know, I've seen publishers, small publishers, Universal and Warner, really take money and sometimes take advantage. Keep your guy, and he'll probably.
There are good deals and there are bad deals.
There's good deals and bad deals, and you just need somebody to guide you in the right way, and there's a lot of shysters out there.
Well, I think the other thing I would say is just, and this is for record deals too. Think about why do you want that deal? People say, I want a record deal. Okay, let's talk about why. Because, oh, they're gonna give me a big check. That advance, when you sign a deal, you get an advance. An advance is not free money. It's just an advance on money you're gonna earn later. You get $100,000 advance, that means the first $100,000
Go back
you
to
don't
that.
get. So
Right.
so we always have that question, why do you want to sign a publishing deal? Why do you want to sign a record deal? And then we can decide is it the right deal.
I've said one more thing, what Will said about, and I said this when I walked in, and all the girls are out there. It's so wonderful that you're all here and that you have to be proactive in this business. You have to learn as much as you can, and the fact that you're coming to hear us talk is wonderful. Anyway, licensing. It's so hard now, I gotta be honest, because there's so much content out there. And if you do sign a publishing deal, like Dave said, and I get a brief from, let's say, Kellogg's, and they're looking for a hip-hop song. If you have a publisher, they're gonna, well, you know this, take part of the money. The bottom line is you gotta get it on YouTube, you gotta get it out there, you gotta send it to people like me, you've gotta do your research on music supervisors, on publishing companies, on people that are looking for new bands, like what he said about public radio, try to get your music on that. There's a lot of opportunity out there, but there's also tons of competition, and because there's so much content, you can go in your bathroom with a guitar and make a song and try to license it. But it's also really wonderful if you can license something, even for a small amount of money, because the exposure is really important as well.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
And I want to add to that, again, being on the receiving end and not receiving. Doing deals with labels and publishers and stuff with young bands. I'll give you a quick example. I worked with a band where the lead singer was 15 years old, and there was a record label, fairly well-established, mid-size independent label, fell in love with this band. And we're like, yeah, we're in, this is happening. They're gonna offer us a deal, which they did. What they offered was called a 360 deal, because the world has changed, where major labels used to talk about artist development all the time. Now they talk about a song. Literally, it comes down to the single. Can we make money off of one song? Does the album matter anymore? That's another question. That's probably another half-hour conversation. But so we got this deal, offer, I should say, a 360 deal, which means, for those who haven't seen those, that means you get into a partnership with a record label who then shares every one of your revenue streams, meaning not just the music, but your t-shirts, your merch, your publishing, your, what else, ticket sales, yeah, live shows, everything. Hence, sponsorship, any revenue going into your pocket hits their pocket first. Now, the reason we did not take the deal is because this record label was not offering anything for all of those revenue streams. They should have been willing to pay fair market value on how much are we gonna make of t-shirts, how much are we gonna make it on the live shows. They wanted all of it, and we're just gonna give you an advance just to make a record. And then we want all this in return. Bad deal, our attorney at the time said, you're gonna spend more time in court than you will on tour, so don't take the deal. And how do you tell a 15-year-old kid who just got offered a record deal to walk away? And that's what we did, we had to walk away. So, again, Dave will help you.
Now, to kind of bounce off of that, this is another question for Dave. When does an artist need to consult with an attorney? What is the moment? Because I know with a lot of our clients, they don't actually go consult with attorneys for those deals. They're just, there's agreements flying around, there's contracts flying around, and is a contract the only time that an artist should speak to an attorney?
Definitely not. I mean, here's the thing. You don't have to wait until there's a contract. If there is a contract, then that's definitely the time. But it can be before that, because a band is a good example, right? So a band is a business, right? And so what is the agreement among the band members? Let's put a band agreement in place, right? So that we know who owns what and what happens if somebody leaves and all that sort of stuff. There are doing all the registrations, copyright registrations, your public performance rights, or you may just, if you're gonna go sign it, like we were talking, or I was mentioning a minute ago, an admin deal, anything like that, there is a legal aspect to it. And really, anytime there's any sort of business relationship, you're going to play a gig, right? They're gonna pay you, you're gonna play from 8 to 9, they're gonna pay you this amount of money, they're gonna give you this backline, or they're gonna give you this hospitality. Well, that should be in writing. That's a contract.
Can you explain what an admin deal is?
The
I
admin
think
deal?
you should explain what an admin deal is.
Oh, sorry, I thought I did. I apologize. Sorry. The admin deal being signing with a publisher, or rather, a publishing company that will collect your publishing revenue and just take a percentage and not do the shopping of the music, basically. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, honestly, it's really never too soon to talk to an attorney, and it shouldn't be. I mean, at least the reason I started my law firm is because it shouldn't be intimidating. It shouldn't be super expensive. You should be able to talk to multiple attorneys. It's like you're hiring someone to provide a service. You don't work for them, they work for you. And I've had that, people be confused about that. Same with a manager. They work for you. Same with an agent. They work for you. So you have the opportunity to talk to someone like, hey, what's your experience? Have you done this before? Because I do get a lot of people who come to me, oh, my uncle's a lawyer, and he read this record to me. I'm sure he did. And he can tell you what it says, but if he's not familiar with the industry, or she is not familiar with the industry, then they don't know if it's a good deal or not. What should those percentages be? How long should it last? What should they get? And so I am very clear about, like, this is what I know and this is what I don't know. If you come to me and you say, I'm, buying a piece of real estate, I'm not a real estate lawyer. I'm not gonna take your business. I'm gonna make sure you have the right coverage. So I think the other thing is talk to an attorney who knows the industry, who has the background, who has the experience, and has done it before, so that they know they can provide you with good advice.
Right, so what you're kind of saying is that even just before an artist submits their music to someone like Vaughn here, consulting with an attorney can help them figure out what they want.
I mean, I don't wanna mess with Bonnie's process. Here's the thing, it's more just, I think
It's about negotiation.
Right.
So it's when a deal comes through, you wanna be prepared.
And don't be intimidated by an attorney, because like you said,
Sorry.
make sure it's an entertainment attorney, like you said, unless you're buying a house. And it really is about negotiating and walking into somebody's office and not thinking, oh my God, you have to be comfortable.
Can I add one thing to that real quick? So, I was gonna say that, I will just keep doing this. That one thing is, yes, once you get the deal from Bonnie, you need the attorney to review it. Please do not call your attorney because because it has to be signed tomorrow. It does, like, I have so many people call me and say, I've got this contract, it needs to be signed tomorrow. There's just no way, it's just, there's so much background, because I wanna know my clients, I need to understand, what are your motivations, what's important to you?
Do you do
Right.
like informational meetings?
Absolutely, no, we always do a free consultation.
Yeah,
We
see,
never ask
that's
someone to pay me
that's
until they
huge,
meet me.
that's huge.
That is
Just to talk to them.
Right.
And I admire entertainment attorneys because you don't see them on billboards. But I will say that, again, from experience, if you're gonna get into this music business and you want a career, anytime I consult with an artist, whether it's for management or just to help, because I like discovering new artists, the first thing I tell them is they need to learn everything there is to know about the business. I suggest this book, Krasilovsky's book. Yeah, This Business of Music, write it down. This Business of Music has a chapter on everything, and it does answer some of these questions, like when do I need an attorney? Or when do I need a manager? I mean, if you want a career, you need to learn these things. If you just want to make music as an artist, that's great too. But don't expect the industry to come to you unless you have a blow-up, amazing song. But learn the business, know what questions to ask of each person that you will put together for your team, because it is a team, it's not just you. I've worked with a lot of artists who have what we call momagers and dadagers. My mom is managing me, my dad is managing me. I've worked with bands who've had parents as managers, and I'm still alive. But they think they know the business. It's really, don't trust anybody unless you know the questions to ask. And that book will help you, and then you'll know when you need a manager, or when you need an attorney. I think some of the signs are obvious. It's like, if people are banging down your door and they want your product, they want your music, get a manager, get an attorney. Oh, if somebody asks you to sign away your rights.
Don't sign anything.
That's right, yeah. And if you read that book, you'll know what to look for in a contract. You'll go, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. They're gonna take everything. So be very aware.
We're being so negative, but there is a positive side. There is a positive
It's
side.
reality.
Reality right now.
It's reality.
Well, also, if you're being successful, these are what's gonna happen.
Right.
Right? I mean,
It's just protection. We're trying to protect you.
Everybody wants to put their hand in your pocket.
I think you have to be realistic about your music, and like everybody says, get that book and learn as much as you can, and be proactive. Like even the Recording Academy, if you have any sort of, look at the Recording Academy, try to join and be part of this Grammy thing. If you're in school, you can be in Grammy U. There's so many things you can actually do to network and meet people, but you have to be realistic about your music. Like he says, if you have the greatest song in the world, there's a lot of luck involved. And I think you just have to know that as you go in. It's,
But luck is definitely preparation coupled with a random opportunity.
exactly,
And that kind of
exactly.
goes into the next question I wanted to ask. How does an artist, what does an artist need to do, which this is a loaded question, but what does an artist need to do on their end, like let's say if they don't have a manager, to prepare to find these deals? Like, for example, as a consultant, we really harp on data collection and spreadsheets and the fine details like that. As a manager, what is it that you recommend an artist would do to prepare for a licensing deal or a publishing deal? What do they need to have besides the music on a hard drive? What do they need to be able to achieve those things?
There's two answers to that. Well, I'm gonna start with one. A lot of people used to ask me, well, what do you do as a manager? And I say, well, I'm the guy that snatches the bullet before it hits the artist in their foot from their own gun. So if you're not prepared, if you don't know what you're doing, I've dealt with artists who's like, I know what I'm doing. and their career is over in a year or two. So what I always say to young artists is, especially, we got a record deal, we're gonna make it now. Oh, no, no, no. The record deal, believe it or not, is the easiest part of the equation. Then comes the hard work. Wait, what? We just got $100,000 deal. I go, first of all, not your money, right? Second of all, now you gotta work to make double that so you actually make money. So what I say is, be prepared, and things have changed over the years where it used to be you get the deal and then comes the hard work. Now the hard work is first, and then you get the deal, and then the hard work comes more. Lots of hard work. Be prepared to put every ounce of energy into what you want to do if you want a career.
I think, yeah, sure. But I think that's for most things, right? You want to be successful, something you got to work hard at it. But being educated, right? Like my best client is an educator. It has done the research and understands that. Also, when I was a manager, I felt like my job was to do the business so the artist could do the art. So I'm not saying you can't, I mean, yes, your primary job is the art. And I'm not encouraging you to put the blinders on and think that you only have to focus on the music. Only on the business. But it is just understanding how it all fits together. If the music isn't there, it doesn't really matter, right? So the music is still primary, so we're not telling you that the music isn't primary. And ultimately, you get to a point, the goal, I think, is to get to a point where you have a team of people who are doing the business for you. Getting to that point is where you're educating yourself and understanding and being smart and all that sort of stuff. Eventually, you get to a point where you have trusted people who can be on your team to handle the business so you can do the music.
I think also you kind of have to pick a lane. You have to understand yourself what kind of music do you want to play at the Ball Arena, or do you want to play in a small venue? You just have to pick a lane of what kind of artist you want to be, or what kind of music composer you want to be. I was working with this guy who got a record deal with Sony, and it was a big deal, and he was so talented. He could not perform in front of people, and so they dropped him. It was like $1 million deal, but he kind of sucked.
You make money.
Yeah, that's it. So he couldn't, and he in a recording studio, he was great, but he got in front of people, he like freaked out. So I think you have to understand yourself, what's your goal? Do you want to play in a bar, or do you want to play, like I said, at the Ball Arena? What is your end goal? What do you want to
Communicate that through your branding and the business choices that you make.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay, last question. I kind of want to bounce back to a question we asked on the last panel with you guys' expertise behind the answers. We were talking about the American Music Fairness Act and what that would look like for artists and how, I mean, we did talk about going to the polls and voting, right? But what is it about that, the American Music Fairness Act, besides just getting paid for radio streams, right, or radio plays? What is it that would benefit an artist about the American Music Fairness Act? Money.
I mean, I think it's money. Here's the thing. The argument for this change is, it's been going on as long as I've been in the business, but as long as I've been alive.
Right.
And because it has always been a cause, there have been a lot of kind of moral reasoning for the cause, right? That artists should be paid, I mean, mostly artists should be paid and it should be fair, and the publishers are getting paid and labels aren't, and there's a lot of reasoning, but ultimately it comes down to money. I think, I don't know.
Definitely.
I don't want to keep bringing up this recording academy, but they have a whole committee every year that goes to Washington and fights for musicians. And if they got 10 cents for a radio, something on the radio, it's better than nothing. So they just keep, it's all about money and trying to protect you guys.
Yeah, and then let's talk about the streaming platforms where you get that 50-cent check. a year, which is very unfair. So it's just horrible. It's like you could get 1 million spins on Spotify, and what's the check, $50? I don't know. $12. So, yeah, I mean, you get a sandwich. So the radio side of it has been arguing forever that, well, by playing your music, we are promoting promoting you for free, right? Because there are a lot of expenses to run a radio station. However, public radio has a whole different view of this because we are funded by you. We're funded by the public. We're funded by donations. And the people who listen to public radio and who support public radio believe in the same thing, that they want the artists to benefit. So the whole mindset between commercial radio and public radio, two different worlds, right, Nikki? Yeah, because what Nikki was saying earlier is very important. We want to see artists get paid. We won't ask an artist to play for free. If it's a show promoting my radio station, we make sure they get paid, whatever we can afford, or the venue. You know, a lot of venues ask us, hey, can you do a show with us? Sure. How much are you gonna pay the artist? Oh, what do you mean? It's like, well, you gotta pay the artist. Same thing with, you know, what we're talking about, the Fairness Act. I'm sure you've all seen and read articles about bands in the 50s and 60s and even 70s where they made millions of dollars, but they never saw the money. Where'd the money go? Same thing with radio. I mean, you know, we pay ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. Where is that money going? It's a small percentage. So it's time to turn the tables and treat the artists as the artists that they are and give them what they deserve. I'm all for this act. You know, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be in radio, but I'm gonna probably be involved in music until I die. But I think it is time now to turn the tables and be fair and treat the artists the way they deserve to be treated, and just read books.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay. So, thank you guys for talking to us today. I think this is a great
15
space
minutes
for us
break.
to take a break together.
Do you want
Yes.
to
I'm gonna stop the video.
Meet each other.
Thank you.
Okay.
Listen to the silent sessions. We have a couple of really good ones.
What's the hashtag again? It's like the,
I make a picture, Johnny. I will spell for you right.
Yes, we'll be back with
I make a-
Tito
I make a
Romeo
picture,
from the
auditorium.
COMO of Audia. Please give everybody a hand that was on the panel. Get you some refreshments, get a bathroom break, and we'll see you in 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. Do you want to go to restroom?
yeah, hold on a second. Yes, I'm sure I'm gonna stop streaming.